All right, we're back, and this week we're doing an Earth Day movie. So
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Everyone has to be inside, away from people, not driving.
But not away from nature.
Not away from nature. So if you are stuck at home or stuck away from people because of Corona and you're quarantined, go outside and do something nice for the environment. Plant a tree, garden, do something positive. Although being stuck inside and not driving is already good for the environment. So
yeah, and the factory's not running, polluting the air and not polluting the water. And I mean, Corona's really doing more for the environment than we could ever do.
I mean, Mother Nature just finally said
reset
button.
Yeah, basically. So anyway, the movie we're doing is The Lorax, and this was recommended to us by They Always Move to Florida podcast. So thank you for that. I think that this is the first movie that they've recommended to us, so that's exciting.
Entirely possible. I'm Tyler.
I'm Shay.
This is Cinematically Correct, and
You almost forgot the name of our podcast.
I did not. Cinematically Correct, and again, this week we're doing The Lorax.
Yeah.
So where do we go from there?
Well, I think you have a beer.
I do have a beer. So this is Mayflower Brewing. Resistance is Fruitile. So it's a sour ale. There were so many good choices.
Earth Day choices?
There were so many good Earth Day choices for this movie. There was Tears of Green. There was Citrus Got Real. There were so many.
So you really had to limit yourself.
Green State, which is Vermont.
There was plenty, but
yeah.
You had to limit yourself. You think you're happy with your decision?
Oh, it remains to be seen. It's a sour, so I think it'll be okay. My only hesitation is it's got a lot of other fruit in there.
Yeah, but you've been saying for a few weeks you've been craving a sour, so I'm happy to see you going with what you like. Now, pop that baby open. That was satisfying, actually.
That's actually nice and light and refreshing.
Yeah?
I like it.
You happy with that choice?
It's better than the stouts and IPAs that I've been subjected to recently.
Well, I'm glad you got one you like, so you can stop whining about it.
I'll give that a 3.75. That's a nice mellow beer.
Oh, only a 3.75, no 4?
No, not far.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anyway, okay, can you give everybody a brief synopsis? Although I am sure many people read the book, and if you didn't, guys, we gave you homework last week.
Brief synopsis.
What do you do?
If you haven't read Dr. Seuss, you're a monster. Like, come on. Everyone's read Dr. Seuss.
You're not a monster. You just lived under a rock, which Dr. Seuss would be totally fine with. So you're a totally fine person. Don't worry.
So the movie centers around Ted, who is a love-struck boy, and he wants to win the heart of a girl. So he goes to see the Onceler to find out what happened to all of the trees. And the Onceler tells the story about how he cut them all down for his
personal gain, his need, which is a sweater,
hat, ugly thing. And and that's the whole movie.
Yeah, basically that
it's
sums it up.
It's basically the retelling of the Dr. Seuss storybook from when you're a kid.
Yes, it is, actually. So this is the first time it was retold on screen, minus a TV version a few years back. But this is the
70s,
first movie version.
Or something like that?
Yes, but this is the first movie version. So, I mean, at least it's unique, right?
I would say that it's probably one of the best of the Dr. Seuss adaptations.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I always like the good Dr. Seuss. I just do, So. It just is what it is. Anyways, okay, so are you ready to go into IMDb?
Certainly.
Okay, so the first person that pops up on IMDb is Danny DeVito.
Right, the Lorax.
So who doesn't know Danny DeVito? Do we need to explain who he is? Always Sunny in Philadelphia is first thing that comes to mind.
Well, this is our second movie in a row with an Always Sunny character.
That's true, actually.
Yep.
I didn't think of that. But that's the first thing that comes to mind with Danny DeVito. But he's in a lot. I mean, Matilda, right? He's in
Matilda,
that too.
He's the Penguin from Batman. He's Arnold Schwarzenegger's dumpy twin.
He's the voice of the small man in Hercules, and he better be the
Phil.
small man in the live action of Hercules if they do one, because I'll be very upset and I will protest.
Yeah, he's great. Fantastic.
Yes, he's wonderful. So the
also,
Lorax... Go ahead.
Before we get off track, he's actually my connection to Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So
Gosh.
Danny DeVito was in The War of the Roses, and so was Sean Astin, who played one of the main characters, Samwise Gamgee.
Do you feel satisfied? Are you fulfilled?
Yeah.
Guys, please make it stop. Just
This
tell him
this
that
can
you don't...
stop any time. It's on you to stop your Gilmore Girls references. I will be happy to end it.
Yeah, it's going to be a no.
All right,
Name that movie reference. Yeah, exactly. I was able to do one on you. Anyways, so he plays the Lorax. So Lorax is kind of a cranky...
Office Space.
There you go. The Lorax is like a cranky, furry creature man thing with a mustache that is the defender of trees or the
Guardian of the
trees?
forest. He speaks for the trees.
Speaks for the trees. Thank you. And yeah, so he's basically going around yelling at people for cutting down trees.
Yeah.
Basically. So, in Danny DeVito's character.
Yeah, tree hugger. Like, quite literally.
Okay. Well, okay. Anyway, Ed Helms, he is in The Office. That I can see very
He's in
clearly.
the Hangover series. He's in a lot of things. But
He's basically a funny guy.
yeah, he's a funny guy. He's also in a lot of TV from what I saw on his IMDb other than The Office. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, so he plays the Onceler.
He does.
And this is the first time the Onceler is a person. So we'll kind of get into, why they did that and what we think about that in a bit. But, yeah, so he's a person, a live person who basically is so ambitious about, starting his own business and making money that he disregards the damage he's causing.
Right.
So they do make him pretty sympathetic. You can feel for him, but you can also definitely connect to corporate greed.
Right. He's kind of the character that can't see the forest through the trees.
You've been holding that in there.
I have, yep.
Yeah, so that was killing you. He is my Gilmore Girls connection.
Oh,
So,
kill me.
he was in Evan Almighty with Lauren Graham, who plays Lorelai.
Ah,
Yeah, so you're welcome.
kill me.
Yeah. Anyway.
It can stop. You just have to stop it.
I can't do it. It's embedded in my DNA at this point.
I've just stated for the podcast record that I am willing to stop if you stop the madness.
But then I give in. I give in to you, and I can't do that. So lay down your arms, my friend. Lay down your arms. Anyway, Zac Efron. Now,
Ted.
you didn't realize who he was
I didn't.
throughout the movie.
I did
which
not.
Which was kind of interesting.
I just don't really pay attention to the voice actors unless I really know them from something.
Well, I mean, we saw him recently in the Ted Bundy.
Yeah, I did, but it's a totally different voice. I mean, Ted is not Ted.
Fair. I did not even think of that connection, but yes, fair. But I guess I recognized him just because I've known him from the kids shows, High School Musical, all those like little.
See, I
kid
never
things.
watched High School Musical.
My sister is 11 years younger than me, so I had no choice. So anyway, he plays a kid who basically is in love and
Love-struck
wants
teenager with the older girl that's in high school.
Yeah, basically. I mean, he doesn't really show an actual interest in the environment. It's just more he wants to impress a girl.
Yeah.
So do it that way you will. Taylor Swift plays Audrey, but there's really not much to say about that because she's really not in it. She's just the person. We do have to mention Betty White because she's Betty White. And
Betty White, and she needs to stay safe during the lockdown.
Yes.
For the love of God, Betty White, do not see people.
Yeah, so Betty White, you are in our prayers. We love you and hope you're doing well. And you're a gem in this movie. And I think you're a gem in everything, so.
Right. And we have another one of her movies on the list.
We do?
Yeah.
Which one?
I'm not going to tell you because it's going to be a secret for when we release it in the future.
Oh.
We have A Place to Go.
We have a lot of places to go. I don't know about you, but I've got a whole list of places to go.
Place to Go where this movie was filmed that's nearby.
Okay, I'll have to ponder on that.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so those are the characters that are really important to talk about, I feel like. So do we want to get into kind of the meat of it?
Certainly.
So since we already mentioned it, I feel like we should start here. The movie's decision to make the Onceler a human.
Yes. So in the book and in the original 1970s adaptation, he is only ever seen through the boards on his window. So you don't actually see that it's a person. It's kind of a faceless monster. Mm-hmm. And in this one, he's actually portrayed as a person. And the reason that the filmmakers did that is they wanted to impart more impact to people about personal accountability. So if it's a nameless, faceless evil, or a faceless evil, because he has a name, then it doesn't really have the same kind of weight behind it, because you can say, well, that's just a monster. That's not me. That's not what I'm going to do.
Right.
Which I totally support that, because it makes it easier for young children to grasp, which is an important thing.
Right. I mean, the executive producer said, as soon as you make the Once-Slayer monster, you allow the audience to interpret the problem as being caused by somebody who is different than me, and it ceases to be about all of us.
Right.
Which I think is fair. People that were fans of the book did complain a little bit about this because they felt that it was supposed to be a monster. It wasn't the interpretation that was intended, and they didn't really like... I think that they didn't like humanizing it because they didn't want to make it real, is how I feel about it, but I wasn't a, hardcore stan.
Well,
I like the book.
Somebody agrees with the producers because Dr. Seuss's widow loved this movie so much that she gave all the rights to all of her husband's film adaptations to Illumination.
That is true.
For the
and
future.
I'm actually really curious to see what they do with those because Dr. Seuss, I love every Dr. Seuss movie / book that I've seen / read.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Totally down.
Yes.
They do a good job. Despicable Me. Fantastic.
Wait, that's Dr. Seuss, though?
It's not Dr. Seuss,
Oh,
but
I was like, wait,
it's
what?
the same production company.
It is the same production company. There is actually a Minion reference in here. There's Gru's shoes that's referenced in here. And there's also, at one point, he's opening a drawer, and there's a Minion doll in there. So, you're welcome. Anyway, so on the topic of Dr. Seuss, he does have the history of making personal statements. So, I know you wanted to talk about this a little bit.
Yes. So, Dr. Seuss, lovely gentleman who wrote a lot of great life lesson stories for children.
And also political commentary.
Political commentary. So, there's The Cat in the Hat, which is all about making the best of being stuck in the house by yourself, which we can all relate to right now.
Which we should have been doing that movie. What are we doing wrong here?
Oh, no, that was a terrible movie.
Well, okay, but apropos.
There's the Butter Battle book.
Yeah.
Which is basically a commentary on the Cold War and that just fighting for the sake of fighting and one-upping each other is a terrible thing.
So what you're saying is you should be a screenwriter for this film when it becomes the adaptation? Because it sounds right up your alley.
Well, there's also this book because it's dealing with responsible eco-conservation and land use.
Yeah, there's Horton Hears a Who.
Horton Hears a Who, which is taking care of someone that can't take care of themselves. There's a lot of easily relatable, positive stories, and Dr. Seuss is a wonderful person.
Do you have any more? Do you want to talk him up anymore?
No, he's just great. I mean, who doesn't like Dr. Seuss?
I don't. I mean, I feel like some people don't agree with his political statements. So if you guys didn't know, prior to him writing children's books, he did write a lot of political things.
Yes, he
and it was polarizing at the time.
It was.
But,
yes.
I mean, I think it's hard to disagree with him, but he wasn't very well liked for that part of his writings. Yeah. So, I mean, we should put that out there. But since we're on the topic of Dr. Seuss,
yep.
I did want to say that there was speculation that the characters in this movie were actually inspired by things he's seen, which is not common for him. Normally, it's completely imagination. But which I took screenshots in case you don't know what these things are, but the Lorax may have been modeled after the mustachioed potus monkey that he likely encountered in Kenya in 1970.
So I didn't make that connection at all. I assumed that the Lorax with the mustache was Teddy Roosevelt.
Oh, okay. Why did you assume that?
Well, Teddy Roosevelt was very big into the parks, and that's going to go into my history minute
for
the U.S. national parks and conservation and all of that. But that's what I thought when I saw the Lorax.
Well, do you know what this monkey looks like?
I do not.
Do you want to know what this monkey looks like?
I do now.
So we will tweet out both of these photos that I've got here. But the mustachioed potus monkey literally has a mustache, and he's orange just like the Lorax. So
I mean, that's fair.
And then the other one that I'm not so sold on, there are trees that are imperative for the potus monkey's survival, just like the Truffalas are in this book. And they're called whisking. Hold on. You know what? I'll just pull it up from my little screenshot here. Whistling thorn acai, and they're also in Kenya. So
I'm not sold on that at all. That's not soft or
right. It's not soft and pretty.
It's spiny and awful, and you'll die.
Right. So I don't know, but scientists were speculating that there was a lot of similarities to both of these things, and he had actually gone on a trip to Kenya. Apparently there was something going on. I don't exactly know the whole story, but there was something going on near his house where he was trying to stop a company from cutting down trees, and he was very upset about it, and he wanted a way to write about it without being preachy. So he decided to go on vacation to Kenya to kind of clear his mind and think about it, and in a day, he all of a sudden came up with the story while he was in Kenya. So that's why people are speculating, or scientists are speculating, that this is...
I mean, I could be totally wrong with my Teddy Roosevelt if you pull up a picture, but...
You could absolutely be totally wrong, and you could be totally right. He was dead before this speculation, I think, came out, or at least before it was able to be confirmed nor denied. So... There's that. I wanted to share that because I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was interesting that there are monkeys that exist with mustaches.
I didn't know that I needed to know that.
But now you do.
Now I do.
So, you're welcome.
All right.
Anyways, so I did want to talk a little bit about the bottled air thing.
Okay.
Now, I didn't see it on the internet, so maybe we're crazy. But we both had a very, quick comparison to bottled air, which do you want to explain?
Well, yeah, we go from bottled air to bottled water, whether it's Poland Springs, Aquafina, Dasani, and it's always plastic, and it's always terrible for the environment. Right.
Now, I'm going to do this, and you're going to hate this, but there is a YouTube video that's very popular right now out there, and it's a Shane Dawson conspiracy video. And it just released not too long ago, and it's very popular. And basically, he talks about the controversy behind Dasani. And he talks about how a lot of bottled water is literally just water from, tap water.
I know Poland Springs is their groundwater in Poland, Maine.
Well, right.
I've been there. I've been to their plant.
Right, but Dasani itself, on the bottle, apparently, it says it's tap water. And it has, chemicals in it. And it makes you burp, like soda does, things like that. So it's actually horrible for you. And it's got salt in it to make you want to keep drinking it and actually dehydrate you.
Well, a lot of companies go to places to pull huge amounts of water out of the local environment, the state and local governments, countries, and so forth, that don't have a lot of water to start with, just for corporate greed. And it's going to lead at some point to a significant problem where those people are going to be displaced because they don't have any water to drink.
Right. So I wanted to say that the reason that I thought this was a comparison the filmmakers were trying to make was because in the movie, the small man, what's the small man's name?
Mr. O'Hare.
Mr. O'Hare. Basically, he was polluting the air so that you needed the fresh air from him. And he was also getting rid of all the trees so that they weren't creating new fresh air, so that he would have a monopoly on air.
Right.
And I feel like that's very similar to what bottled water companies are doing, because they're promoting it as, cleaner and healthier, which a lot of it's tap water that we all have access to with chemicals in it. And they're also have factories and things like that are polluting the air and polluting the water. They have it in plastic, which is terrible for our environment.
I read an article not too long ago that bottled water, and plastic specifically from sodas and etc., is one of the leading causes of plastic waste that's in the oceans and everywhere.
Right. So marketing is everything. They say something in the movie about if you put it in a plastic bottle, then people will buy it. And unfortunately, that is true and awful at the same time. So anyway, it's just kind of funny how they made that comparison, but nobody seemed to talk about it. So I don't know. Maybe we're way off base.
No, I mean, possibly, but I doubt it.
Okay.
Just because they're polluting the world for their own personal gain.
Exactly. The one other thing we do need to mention, because we're talking about it, is Mr. O'Hare. You're more political than I and more comfortable saying these things.
The fact that he looks like Kim Jong-un from North Korea.
Ridiculously, right?
It's the hair and the eye. It's the hair. It's the hair.
It's the hair and the shortness. And they called him Baby Man, which I don't know if you guys follow politics at all, but...
Little Rocket Man?
Yes, there you go. So, I don't know if that was the intention, but it was also, he's a dictator. He's,
he controls every moment of your day.
Yeah.
And now this is not going to be viewed in North Korea ever, under any circumstances.
Yeah, and his Big Brother is watching. He's got the cameras everywhere.
State-run everything.
Maybe it's not the intention, because I did try to find a comparison online, and I was only able to find, a meme on iFunny saying, he looks like him or whatever, but... Yeah. Guys, the comparison's uncanny. The filmmakers did that on purpose, right?
They had to have.
Right?
I feel.
Right, okay. So
we're just going to agree on that one.
Oh, okay. So, anyway, This movie has over 70 product placements in the film. So one of which, the largest and most controversial, being Mazda.
Yeah.
Does that bother you? Does that change anything for you?
It is kind of insanely hypocritical and tone deaf given the context of this movie. I understand going after the dollar and trying to make as much money as you can, but there has to be a line.
There does.
There has to be a line of just awareness and decency. And for this movie specifically, it's a kids' movie. Kids are going to see it. You don't even have to really advertise it.
Right.
Come on.
I agree with that. So I did want to mention, because it's connected to Massachusetts, that when this movie was being advertised, the filmmakers made a trailer and they made a website, and it was basically all about promoting the movie to sell tickets.
Right.
But it wasn't about promoting the ecological message that Dr. Seuss was obviously promoting.
Right.
And it took a group of fourth graders in Brookline, Mass. To create a petition on change.org that was very successful for the filmmakers to realize that they needed to add an ecological message. The fourth graders were saying things like, but your whole message is to not ignore the earth to make money, but isn't that what you're doing? Like, fourth graders had to do this. Like, that's,
from the mouths of babes,
right? Like, it's crazy that fourth graders had to point that out to them. Like, plus that's a great marketing strategy. Like, they should have donated proceeds to, like, Arbor Day, like something. I don't know.
The WWE.
Yeah, something. Anything Earth related. They should have donated some of their proceeds. Do you know how many people would have bought tickets just to support the cause? Like,
yeah.
It's the missed opportunity is all I'm saying there. Like, that just seems a little strange to me. But anyway, are you...
Yeah, I mean, for certain things, the world would be a much better place if children were in control of some parts of morality and decency.
Well, I think also children should be in control of almost parts of marketing for their own movies. Like,
right.
What is it you would want to know about a movie or a book or whatever that before you see it? Like, what would make you want to see it? Because you're marketing to a child. What do they want to know? Because I think sometimes adults look over the things that are very obvious to a kid and very important to a kid. So it's kind of funny that it had to happen that way.
Well, they go into it with a blank slate and they don't take any of their learned biases or prejudices when they go into a circumstance, because oftentimes it's a new situation and they just don't have anything to compare it to.
Right, exactly.
So
so we do have one more thing on the list, but I did want to mention one thing before we moved past it. So a big part of this movie is a love story between two kids. It's Ted and Audrey, and it's him kind of going against all odds to do what he can for her. Now, do you think that the love story itself took away from the movie because Ted was not motivated to help the earth, but rather just to get a girl?
I mean, that's how it started, but after the story was over, he was won over to the side of wanting to do the right thing for the environment.
Do you think so?
I do think so. I mean, he wanted the girl, obviously, and that's not even a debate, but I do think that he was won over to this is the right thing to do for being the right thing to do side of it.
See, I don't know that I felt he was won over. I felt that he started to hate Mr. O'Hare and he wanted to win. And I didn't know that I felt very happy about that. And also, Audrey wasn't motivated to have a tree because she wanted to make the earth a better place. She wanted a tree because it was cool and different, and she wanted to have something nobody else had. Yes. So, like, those motivations kind of bothered me. I almost feel like I would have been more happy if it was a motivation from the grandmother with wishing the earth was like it was when she was a kid and wanting that back for her kids. Right. And wasn't able to do it herself, so she was telling stories to her grandkid, and he wanted to, do it for his grandmother. You know what I mean? Like, that feels more like organic.
Although, to be fair, in this movie, Betty White's character is a boss.
She really is.
She uses her cage. She gets the mom out of the way. She
plays senile just to... I knew I could get rid of her.
Yeah, exactly.
She comes in clutch.
So she could have done everything her own damn self.
Yeah, exactly. But... you know what I mean? I wanted a more, approach that focused more on the environment rather than on almost trivial things,
right.
But... I guess that is what it is. We have to take what we can get because we don't have a lot of movies that really talk about how important it is to do more for the environment because we are losing resources and we are cutting down trees and pollution and all these bad things. Like we do need to do something about it. So we do need more messages like this. But anyway, I digress. So the last thing I have on the list is the logging industry's parody. So multiple people, not just the logging industry, but multiple people do feel that the Onceler was actually should have been the protagonist of the movie, where the Lorax should have been the antagonist. They feel that it isn't necessarily bad to use natural resources for your own gain. And I think it all kind of stems down to what you feel the intent of the movie was. Do you feel that natural resources do you feel the movie was saying natural resources should not be used for financial gain, or do you feel that they were making a more lenient commentary on being responsible with the resources you use?
So I took it personally as the original Industrial Revolution stance on things, where they're there, take it all, use it, and advance as much as you can. So there's a lot of documented instances of that throughout human history where, well, there's so much it's never going to run out, and then it runs out, and then...
If I did that in Animal Crossing, I would have a bare island and nothing to fix it.
Well, like, it's short-sighted, because obviously if you keep doing something faster than if you use something faster than it's being replaced, you're going to run out. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. Mm-hmm. And that's just math. That's if you take two and only one gets replaced, at some point you run out.
Right, and it's also good business sense to be thinking ahead. And if you are using 10 trees, plant 20, 30, or 40 of them, because now you're going to have so much more in the future to use for your gain. And you're also helping the environment, which will make it more fruitful for more resources.
So I guess my problem with the planting a bunch of trees is not often done in a very ecological way.
That's
so they're
true.
planted in rows, and they're planted just one type of tree, which is not biodiverse and doesn't replace the forest of different types of trees that you've cut down. It's one tree.
Right.
And it looks like a tree farm, which
it essentially is.
Yeah, and that's not a
That's not
forest.
environmentally
That's not a forest with animals in it. That's
a business.
That's a business with a tree farm.
Yeah.
Yes, they're producing oxygen, but it's not having any real meaningful impact for the local environment.
I agree. So did you want to say anything about the logging industry's parody, Truax?
It's propaganda.
But what were they basically saying?
They were saying we replaced the trees because we need more trees to cut down in the future. We're better than fire because it just burns everything down with no replacement. And it was a lot of cringiness, and it's not nearly as well illustrated.
Or well written.
Because it's not in rhyme, it's what's in crap rhyme. Or just garbage rhyme compared to Dr. Seuss because it's
not Dr. Seuss,
right.
Frankly. I mean.
And then, yeah, it's disregarding the entire point of you're planting trees as a tree farm, not as a forest. And forest fires are a normal, everyday part of a cycle environment where the trees burn down, replace the nutrients that they've used from the soil, and then new trees can start going in, and it's this whole process. So they're wrong.
They're wrong?
Yeah.
Okay. So I just want to make sure we got it out there that is out there, and people have their own feelings about this. I know. So I am somebody who very much believes in, making your own destiny and doing your own thing. And they did very much make the Onceler somebody who did create his own destiny, and despite his parents and family not believing in him, he went forward and he did something for himself. And that I can absolutely applaud. I believe in that 100%. He was short-sighted and he didn't see what he was doing, but I do applaud the ambition, and I think that it's important to kind of separate that from what he was actually doing to the environment. So put that out there as you will. Anyways, I think we have moved into your history minute. What do we think?
Well, before we do that, I have a couple quick things that I liked about the movie.
Oh, okay. Give us those tidbits.
A couple references and things of that nature. So there's the empty O's which is clever because it's sugar cereal.
And it was empty calories.
Empty calories.
Yeah. You said that in the movie, and I was
right.
like, that's clever.
He plays an electric guitar, which is also known as an axe.
That's kind of cool.
The foreshadowing of him setting up the camp where he almost kills all of the animals with his tools. And it's foreshadowing him doing that in the future. Mm-hmm. So it was a nice couple touches there. I also did like the rhymes, and a lot of it was lifted directly out of the story.
Yes, especially the unless one.
Yes. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, things will not get better. They will not.
You tried. I mean,
It's
it was a good attempt, yeah. Anyway, so moving on from there, is there anything else you wanted to mention? You said you had tidbits. So
there's the whole controversy over Let It Go.
Let It Snow.
Or Grow or Let It Snow that you mentioned.
Well, controversy, I don't think anybody else is talking about it, but that song, I'm sorry, Let It Grow and Let It Snow are an awful lot alike. So, how is no one talking about that?
That one was after this.
Okay, so it's okay that Disney steals from Universal. That's okay. It just flip-flops is no? Is that what you're telling me? Is that the moral of the story?
I think it's all right to steal as long as you don't get sued.
So as long as you don't get caught.
Yeah.
It's great moral. Great moral. I'm glad we're ending on a positive note. We're really teaching people some good stuff. Now, you're done with your little tidbits?
I'm done with my tidbits, I think. Yep.
So I did want to... Tyler won't let me turn this podcast into anything other than a kid-friendly podcast because it's a kid movie, so I guess that's nice. But for those of you who are adults, if you are interested in a crazy...
seedy underbelly.
Yes, NSFW situation related very much to this
Is there
movie.
not safe for work anymore because we're all at home and some of us are not working or some of us are working from home?
NSFK?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, if you're gonna read up about this, please make sure children aren't around. But it is called the Oncelings. It's a Reddit thing.
It's an internet.
It's an internet
subculture
thing.
of kind of.
It's a fandom. It's got
a lot of things.
50 Shades of Grey is mentioned related to the Thneed. There's a lot. So I'm not going to get into it because we're in a kids podcast. But if you would like to, you can go ahead and research that. If you want to talk to us about it, we are open to emails and tweets and whatever. We just are not going to get into it on the podcast so that kids can listen.
Yeah.
So go ahead and teach us something.
All right. So Tyler's History Minute.
Tyler's History Minute.
I got a few. Gotta crack it open.
Really excited about it.
So the first is, this story is quite similar to the Industrial Revolution that happened in Europe and the United States. That started 1760s to around the 1840s is the consensus. And it is the transition from everything being made by hand to mass-produced and mass sale. Right. So textiles are a big one, and in New England, that's all our history because we have Lowell, we have Fall River, we have Woonsocket, we have Chicopee, Lawrence, all of these cities that were basically built for producing textile goods and things of mass quantity factories.
That's unfortunate.
So it did lead to a higher standard of living for people generally. Mm-hmm. It also led to more people in cities and women in the workplace rather than at home sitting and sewing.
So I'm not against that.
But it also has led to less high quality products, and if you can make it fast, that's better than making it well.
And the rise of fast fashion.
Fast fashion, yes. Or just things aren't made like they used to be. That's
thrift your items, people. Thrift your items.
That is something that is true. Like, you can buy something from 100 years ago, and it's built to last.
Right.
Anything.
It's not built to break so that you have to buy it again. It's built to last.
Yeah.
So.
Cast iron, hand carved, all of that stuff. It's better quality.
Absolutely. Even cars, all that stuff.
Exactly. So there's that. And there's also the idea of responsible conservation.
Okay.
So in a couple different instances in the United States, there's examples of hugely inappropriate misuse of natural resources. So one of the easiest to understand is the American bison, where there were millions and millions of them. So somewhere in the 16th century, there was estimated 25 to 30 million American bison. Mm-hmm. And then by the 18th century, or the 19th century, it's the 19th century. So by the 1800s, there was less than 100.
Jeez.
And they were killed en masse, thousands at a time. And they were...
For clothing and things like that?
For the leather and for the tongues, oddly enough. And the rest of it was...
eat?
Apparently.
Oh.
The rest of it was left to rot in the sun. So hundreds of animals just shot for their skin.
That's horrible.
And it's just... People thought, well, there's so many of them, they're never going to run out. And
that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
They almost ran out. Another example near us is the Great Banks. Mm-hmm. So back when the Americas were first discovered, it was said that the fish were so numerous in the ocean off the coast of Nova Scotia, Maine, etc., that you could almost walk on them. They were just jumping out of the water. There were so many of them. You could just put a net in and pick as many as you want.
Okay.
And the fishing stocks were so depleted that they almost defaulted. So it's...
Don't be greedy, people.
Don't be greedy. Everything will run out at some point. It's if you abuse in a system. It's
of course, if you abuse an ecosystem, it's going to deplete. That's just what's going to happen.
And then lastly, I wanted to talk about Teddy Roosevelt because I teased this earlier that I thought the Lorax was based off Teddy Roosevelt, and he was a huge proponent of the United States natural park system, and he was very well known for believing that we have a responsibility to preserve things for the future generations because everyone should get to see all the majesty of nature, and it shouldn't be something that is relegated to a history textbook. So that's a commendable thing, and it's one of the things that he's most well known for.
So it would make sense that he would be the inspiration, for sure.
And it's also, he's fought big business and monopolies and trusts and etc. So
you obviously look up to this man.
He's a great president. So he's on Mount Rushmore.
Well, I mean, if he's on Mount Rushmore, then I guess.
I mean, that's pretty good company with Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln.
Yeah,
to be on the side of a mountain. So that's just, he's one of the better presidents. So
is that your whole history minute?
Yeah, I think that's everything.
See, lately you've had some really robust history minutes. Are we going to keep that up even in next week's movie?
I'm going to try.
All right, because I'm enjoying them. I learned from you, and I think others do too. So I really actually appreciate that. So anyway, we should probably move into audience ask. Now, you guys failed me.
Audience asks.
I don't know if you guys haven't seen the movie. I don't know if you guys just don't like me. I don't know what's going on here. But anyway, literally nobody asked us a question. The closest we got was Geek to Me Radio said, why is the book just so much better?
I don't honestly know if the book is better. I mean, yes, it is a childhood classic. Yes, there's a great message behind it. And yes, it's Dr. Seuss. But I think that they did a very good, faithful adaptation of the underlying heart and soul of this piece.
I think Dr. Seuss would be really happy with this. I think he would be happy to see that it was done in a way that kids would appreciate, but also that adults would connect to. I mean, they made you feel so bad for those trees and the nature, like the creatures, and like, I mean, your heart was like just broken watching that happen, and they did a really good job of that because we related.
Well, there's a lot of things that the adults will pick up on, like the Big Brother-esque style that would have been in his wheelhouse, and he would have felt the same way that is just too far.
Right.
Consumerism run rampant.
And it's the second Orwellian situation we had in a row.
It's very much something that he would agree with from a personal opinion standpoint. Right. So I feel like he would have been very happy with this, and his ex-wife, or his widow rather, agreed. So
there's that. The only other person that said anything to us was Would You Could You on a Boat by Matt Lewinsky, and I wrote back, I would not, could not even float, and he said close enough. So I don't know if that was like part of the book. I don't know I don't know. All I know is,
well, there's a Sunny reference for because of the implication.
What does that mean?
I'm not going to go into it. It's not PG kid friendly.
It's not kid friendly?
No, it's not kid friendly.
So,
but on a boat because of the implication, just because Danny DeVito's in this movie.
okay.
But
well,
no, we're going to leave it there.
So yeah, Matt, thank you for at least giving us a comment, because we had none, but we cannot go into that, apparently.
Yeah, there's...
Tyler says Ixnay on the comment A.
Yeah.
Yeah, Almond K. There we go.
So, all right. So moving on to reviews, I guess.
Reviews.
Yes, do you have them?
I do. So Rotten Tomatoes, the professional critic score is 53%.
Ooh, yikes.
And then the audience score is 63%.
Not much
so
better.
I am very disappointed with that because I very much enjoyed this adaptation.
I did too.
So I was going to give
Did
it
you
a...
read any reasons why? I'm curious.
I actually did not look at the specific criticisms. I just looked at the scores.
We always like the movies people don't like. It's just in our MO, I guess.
I mean, I guess there's no real fantastic soundtrack. I mean, the songs were catchy, but they're not classical things that are just going to grab you. There's no real great acting. It's a kids' movie.
Right.
So let it go, people.
Or let it grow.
Well, yeah, just you guys failed to see the underlying soul of this movie. And
So you entirely disagree with the
I
critics.
do, very much.
What is your score?
I will give it an 8.
Okay.
Solid choice if you're stuck at home alone with kids.
Or Stuck at Home Alone.
Yeah.
Full stop.
So, yeah, 8 out of 10.
I was going to give it 8.5. So I was almost going to give it a 9. The only reason I didn't give it a 9 is because I was a little disappointed with how much they pushed the love story rather than the ecological thing, which I talked about before.
Yeah.
So kind of bothered me a little bit there. But other than that, I mean, it was cute. It was uplifting. It had a great message, which I 100% related to. And I think it did a really good job of putting it on a level that anybody who watches it could take something out of, whether you're a kid, adult, somebody who's in business, somebody who's, a tree hugger, whatever. Anybody could take something out of this. And
Right.
I really appreciated that. Plus, it's Dr. Seuss, people. Like, come on.
Nostalgia.
Right.
Come on.
Right. Nostalgia is everything. But anyway, so I guess we entirely disagree with the critics, which is something new and different for us.
Yeah.
So
That's never happened in the history of our podcast.
yeah, and now we're continuing on our lovely MO by doing a movie nobody has seen. So
So this one was my choice, and it was picked well in advance of the current circumstances.
but fits in so well.
It does fit well. So we're doing Patient Zero, which I thought was a zombie movie, but I may not be entirely accurate on that, so
I
it
think
remains
it's
to be seen.
close to a zombie movie, but more about viruses, which is just lovely. Thank you so much for
Apropos
choosing
and
this.
topical.
Yes, the hypochondriac in me is so excited to watch this. So anyways, if you guys want to see me cringe and him just revel in my pain, come back for next week. If you want to talk to us outside the podcast, I am on Twitter at cinematicallyc, and Tyler is BlameTylerCC. Tweet at us, let us know what you think. If you have questions for the next movie, even if you haven't seen it, tweet it at us at any time. But we usually put Audience Ask up somewhere between Saturday and Sunday. Depends on my mood, I guess. You can email us, cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com. You can find us pretty much anywhere, but Twitter's your best bet. So thank you to Jake at Athos Music for our intro and outro music, and we will be back next week with Patient Zero.
Thank you for listening.